yeah, man, just just do it while you're at work. Put it on the clock. It's whatever. I was like, okay. Sean thought that was really cool.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Raw Time Champ podcast. It's been forever since we recorded. Unfortunately, the other boys aren't available right now. Calvin's flying back from Finland. Corey's doing whatever. Connor, unfortunately, his truck broke down on the way home from work. So I have a guest, and I have Johnathan Miller. A little bit of small piece of Johnathan. He is one of the limited Super Squad members for past 2 years now. Am I correct in saying that?
Just last year, actually.
Oh, just last year. Okay, and you worked your way onto it.
Yeah, I was top
the year prior.
4, and I guess that earned me a slot for the next year, which was last year. And I was top 10.
Which is absolutely awesome. I mean, first North Texas Super Squatter on the limited Super Squad since whenever, I guess, right?
Yeah, it was a long time in the making, for sure.
And you're currently the only one with a CZ.
Yeah, I did. There was there was supposed to be a foreign guy on the Super Squad. He didn't show. But yeah, he was the only other CZ that I was expecting in the top 20 or whatever. But
oh, right, because Khalil was supposed to be on the Super Squad too, right?
Yeah, Khalil was supposed to be there and he didn't show. I don't know what happened. I didn't hear the story.
I think he may have had a. He probably had a qualifier for the World Shoot in the Philippines during that time because they have so many matches that you have to use to qualify. Like, if I remember, there's like 18 grand total matches in the Philippines per year that act as a qualifier, and you have to shoot 7 of them.
That's a little more intense than our method.
Yeah, right. All right. So, is there anything you would like to introduce us to about yourself?
Been shooting competitively since 2012. Long time. Started in EPA and ended up realizing, hey, the heat's in USPSA, and took a couple years off somewhere in there due to life stuff, but started to work hard at it a couple of years ago and was like, okay, let's do this Super Squad thing. And so here we are.
And where are you currently working?
Oh, working at Red Dirt USA here in Nacogdoches, Texas. So we make 2011 triggers. There. That's I don't know, if you don't have a custom gun with a little custom fitted trigger in it, it's pretty much the best drop-in trigger that I've found. That's one of the reasons I was happy to work for them.
My open gun actually has the medium, like F3, I think is the size for it. So it's a nice little trigger. I never mess with it though.
Yeah. Well, it's just, that's a cool thing. Like, once you get it set up, it's just, okay, it's good to go. You don't have to mess
with it. And go, right?
Yeah.
Anything for CZ soon?
I just stripped some anodizing from some CZ triggers because I was going to send it off to our anodizer and get them gold or whatever, just for shits and giggles. And nice. and Sean and our lead engineer, our programmer, Scott, was looking at them, and they're both like, these would be really easy for us to mill. So I don't know if it's going to happen this year. We got slammed with projects, so can't talk too much about any of them. We just have to wait to see what get released. But yeah.
And by Sean, you mean Sean Hines?
Sean Hines, yeah. He's founder of Red Dirt USA. He was also on the Super Squad the past 2 years, and he's founder. And Scott is our lead programmer for the machines.
That's awesome. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the Q&A because we have a massive backlog of questions that we just haven't answered for like 3 months. So, all right, let's work on this backwards. What is your checklist for your stage walkthrough?
Don't even bother getting on it until you know how many rounds, how many targets, and where the start position is.
Step 1, right?
Step 1, definitely, for sure. And then I usually try to have a pass through in it where I'm just seeing, I don't have my hands up. I'm not trying to visualize anything. I'm like, where do I have to go? I don't want to have any idea of a program until I know where I have to go. And, because you have to go here to see this target. You have to go there to see that target. And then if I can, while I'm doing that, I'll see, are there any obvious options as far as, oh, this is optional target, this is optional target, or on the move, exit entries. But but that second walkthrough real quick will be doing that, just all the options that might be available as far as taking a target elsewhere. And then I start thinking, then once I get that done, I start thinking about where am I going to put this reload at, especially limited, a little bit less round count than carry optics or limited optics. I'll start thinking about where I'm going to fit a reload in, what's advantageous, what gives me time to do it. And but after that, it's really comes down to minimizing that distance while making sure it flows okay. For me, I tend to pick options that get me closer to the targets with the irons in limited division. So a lot of times I will choose not to hunt for targets, and I'll take an extra few steps just to be able to burn down targets a little bit faster, closer. Sometimes a different plan will work better when you got an optic on the gun.
It's basically giving you that like extra space to rip with major power factor, right?
Yeah, I have that major power factor. It's like, why hunt for targets when I could just take 3 extra steps and then just blaze these targets, and if it eat a few Charlies, that's fine. It saves me time. So a lot of times I can save time with the irons, just getting a little bit closer or making a position a little easier than trying to minimize my steps 100%.
Cool. Yeah, typically after listening to the written stage brief, I'll ask for the physical copy of the written stage briefing. Yeah. That way I can actually cement that in my mind, right? It's like, what's the start position? That kind of thing, right?
You have to over the RO shoulder, like reading it as he's reading. I'm like, sorry, my listening skills suck. Let me read this.
It's like, dude, I got foam earplugs in. I can't hear anything you're saying.
Exactly.
So, yeah, and like if it's someone I know, I'll like prank them by like gently rubbing their ear with my thumb just to freak them out a little bit. That way it forces them to reread it. But yeah, after that, double check where all the targets are. See if there's options where like I can get it here, I can get it over there. I get X number of steps to get over here, but I can just simply shoot this to get this kind of array, that kind of thing. And then it's just simplification of like, okay, this is the plan that clicks in my head, and then just rerun it like an infinite number of times that I can't really count, right? Steve Anderson says like you got to run it simulated like 30 times without even walking it, and at that point you try to not walk the stage again, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's definitely like you have to have that visualization down. Like if you're early up, he'll say double digits are the minimum, minimum. And that's one of those things, like we say all that, like, but once you do get that plan that clicks, it's time for you to stop analyzing and start visualizing.
Yeah. This actually kind of stems from so my parents, when I was in grade school, they actually forced me to memorize speeches, even if it wasn't required.
You're right.
And so, like, according to a research paper that they read back then, it took at least 16 times to have something completely memorized.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that was some forced dedication, but like it definitely caused some like work ethic into things that I care about, that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just sometimes that skill gets ignored early on for some shooters. It's like, I keep messing up. I'm like, well, you need to pick a plan early and you need to stick with it. A well executed okay plan is much better than the perfect plan that turns out to be a train wreck because you forgot your sequence or you forgot where to go or you're hesitating after every target.
Yep. So I think for both of us, it's confirm the stage briefing, check positions of targets, whether they're paper or steel, and then figure out the plan, and then simplify it basically.
Yeah. And I mean, eventually, like nowadays, trying to maximize time, especially when you're like in super squads and stuff, we're all looking like, okay, where can I save a 10th? And we'll start looking at like, okay, do I want to exit on this target, entry on that target? And that comes kind of with practice, I think. Sometimes you need that experience where you don't think about it so much. You just automatically notice like, okay, I'm going to this position. The gun's going to be up. I might as well entry on this target or I might as well exit on this target. So, but but sometimes, sometimes you do something, you're like, why did I shoot that static?
Yeah. I
Always
get what you mean.
gotta learn this lesson, old man.
Yeah. Now let's just say we have like about a 5-minute walkthrough that they offer us. About how much time do you use in that of getting other competitors' opinions? It's like,
Oh,
hey, bro, like, are you going to take this target over here or over there, kind of thing? Like, do you have any time for that, or do you usually just talk to yourself?
most of the time I talk to myself. I will, on the super squad, it was mostly just being super observant of what they were doing. And fortunately I had, I wasn't a long time working towards that super squad. So it wasn't overwhelming for me or anything. It was just kind of like, I understood why they were doing the things they're doing. And it was just kind of decision like, does that work for me? Stay grounded and decide, does what they're doing work for me? A lot of times though, when I'm like squatting with, cool kids in Dallas, or people I know, I'll spend 30 seconds to a minute just to pick someone's brain if I have a question or if I'm trying to make up my mind about something real quick. But I'll try to do that really early in that walkthrough.
So
Because
it's gleaning with minimal effort, right?
with minimal effort, I'm not gonna spend 3 minutes discussing it with you. And that's when you're like really bearing down on serious mode. There's been times where it's like we're just having fun at this match and we're spending 3 minutes talking about this ridiculous idea of doing this, falling out shooting or something like that. Because it's like, whatever, we're just having fun. But yeah, most of the time when you got your game face on, it's like, I'll glean 30 seconds, a minute at most.
I'm probably the same way. Like even if I'm squatted with people I know, I usually just keep my mouth shut. That way, it's just what can I accomplish with this kind of thing. That's usually what I do, unless except for when I went to France, we had a couple of discussions because we had a field course that like it was kind of shaped like a massive Christmas tree, and we were trying to figure out. I was like, man, what's probably going to be the most efficient way for us to do this? And it was like, what like any way, like me and a Canadian production optics team shooter were like, dude, like whatever clicks in your head for reloads is going to be the spot to just immediately do it. Doesn't matter whether like what rhyme or reason you got, you just do it.
Yeah, I think some people struggle with that. They get hung up on trying to make a most efficient plan, especially if you didn't pre-walk it or you aren't allowed to pre-walk it, like in NIPSC. You need to find something that flows well, that's easy for your member and clicks and is in your skill set, and then just burn that bugger in like as soon as you can. And keep it simple. Don't it's if you're going to a match to practice kind of stuff, sure, you can like practice trying to make super efficient plans, and you just got to also accept that match might really suck for you, your score wise.
Oh, dude, I've had that.
But
It's like I've definitely met some people. It's like, hey, you're the GM I won against. I'm like, do you know what I was purposely using this match for?
Yeah, it's like I'm here practicing skills that I would never do on game day. Like I would never take these risks or push myself to do these things or overanalyze this on game day. On game day, I'm keeping it simple, I'm burning it in, and I'm executing these skills on a subconscious level, stage plan.
Yep, totally agree with you. All right, let's move it on. What is your favorite post-match meal?
Post-match meal. Matches are so fun for me, and after a match, I always like the idea of just having really good food. So usually some type of curry, or if the Daniela picks the wife, some type of really good Mexican. Those are
What kind of
those.
curry? Japanese, Indian.
I usually go for Indian. Sometimes I'll go Thai. Usually, like a paneer saguala from an Indian place is really good. Options are limited out here in Nacogdoches, but we got a few
That's
good
fair.
ones.
Yeah, that's fair.
Randomly enough, we have it's not great, but it's decent. A decent Indian place, and it looks like real Indian immigrants, running an Indian shop in Walmart.
I can actually kind of see that because like the Walmart that's local to me, like it used to be a McDonald's in there, and then they got out because like what's the point of having a McDonald's within within 200 yards, right? So it ended up getting replaced with a shawarma shop.
Yeah, I remember always have memories like random chains in Walmarts, or you'll have like a Starbucks and a Target or something like that. But this Walmart has like an independently owned run Indian restaurant that also does.
Yeah, dude. Like honestly, one of my favorite post-match meals is when you can get a group of friends together and just do family style at some like a Chinese restaurant. That's always so much fun.
Yeah, and everyone's just digging in. That's great. Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, next one.
Conversations for that kind
What's
of
up?
thing.
Oh
Who
yeah.
brings up the post-match conversations?
It'll bring out like some of the most intellectual or weirdest convos you'll ever have.
Yeah.
All right. Overrated USPSA gear. I think the obvious for me, because I shoot stock blocks, right?
Yeah.
The most obvious one to me is thumb rests.
Yeah, I think, man, you really nailed it there. I was gonna go a little more nebulous with like an overpriced gun that doesn't work or doesn't run, but yeah, me shooting limited. That's one of the questions I always get when someone looks at my gun. I was like, "Oh, you don't have a thumb rest?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't see the point." It's yeah, I don't know. There's just
I've shot with a couple of people and like they have a thumb rest on their gun. They're like, Matt, can you help me figure out my fundamentals? I don't know why I'm slamming a couple low and left. I was like, all right, hey, shoot doubles on this target over here. It's about 10 yards. They shoot it. And I'm like, all right, dude, how does your grip feel? And I was like, I don't know, dude. It just kind of feels like, I'm applying pressure. It doesn't feel like I'm trying to do any undue forces. I'm like, you're probably unconsciously pushing on that thumb rest.
yeah,
He was like, really? And then like I had him like kind of jam his thumb up in the air, like totally unnatural for him. I was like, hey, just try it. We're doing this for just for science. He did it, and everything closed into like the size of a fist. And I was like, I guess I was pushing down on the thumb rest. I didn't realize it.
yeah. That's kind of what I think a lot of people end up doing with thumb rest is
Because I mean, they call it a gas pedal, and they say match the gas pedal, right?
and
That's kind of what they think.
Yeah, I think people end up allowing the gas pedal to let them focus in on the wrong cues. But we want to when we're practicing shooting and getting better at shooting, we want to talk about principles over techniques, and people will get on that gas pedal and they start really trying to hone in on it, and they end up neglecting the principle of what their sport hand's supposed to be doing over the technique of pushing on the gas pedal.
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of people, it causes more problems than it helps.
Oh, I agree. Is there another piece of gear that you think is overrated?
I've heard people say range carts before, but I'll be honest. Maybe it's just because I shoot with my wife a lot. I really enjoy our range cart.
For you, honestly, like the whole bags versus wagons discussion kind of just depends. Like, hey, what is your current situation? Do you travel with someone? Then yeah, a wagon probably makes sense unless you have to fly somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I guess you could add like a lot of the different shooting bags to the collection of overrated gear, just because. In fact, I think a lot of people are like putting them right. I don't know. So it's like one of those weird mix in the middles, just because some of them are too big, or some of them are just too small to carry all the things you need. And I'm like, dude, if you just take a backpack from your local academy, like that'll cover about 95% of what you need.
Yeah, I think there is a lesson in there of like you get a fancy bag and then you feel like you have to fill it, all the pockets and everything. And you end up with
All the tools, like in a giant
yeah,
med blowout kit, that kind of thing. I was like, dude, you can like leave that stuff in your car, and then once they're searching for you, you just have to explain, it's like, hey, I had to run over my car, get some more ammo, or I needed XYZ tool.
Yeah, yeah. It's I was fortunate enough to win an S3 range cart, which for one person is probably more than they need. But I took both my wife and I's shooting bags. We both had our own shooting bags, and I condensed all our gear down into that one cart. And I was like, why didn't we
Is
do
it
this?
that is it that like just right mix for both of y'all together?
Yeah, yeah. We can put, both of all four of our guns in there, my gun and her and my backup and her gun and her backup. And we can put our ammo on the bottom of it, and any random tools we might need, the most extreme emergency can go in there. And then anything else is just extra that is just wasted space. So I just condensed it down. I was like, nah, this can just stay in the car. This can just stay home. So yeah, I think you get those fancy bags, and sometimes you just realize, like, oh, I'm just carrying around too much stuff because I feel like I need to make this bag in every pocket useful.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I've got one of those Safariland like range backpacks. It's massive. Like you're gonna have trouble finding a luggage bag to stuff it into. And then when I went to France, I just brought it. Literally just looks like a school bag. It's the LA police gear
Yeah,
um, backpack that they were handing out at. I want to say it was 2022 Carry Optics Nats, and that was the perfect size for me. I only needed to bring 300 rounds because it was a 240 round match. I just needed documentation, my locked box of my guns, and I was pretty much set after I had my belt.
yeah. And you're right. Like, my wife and I could do less. It's just nice having the range cart, less, carrying around stuff. When we go to Puerto Rico and shoot the Caribbean Open, I'll just take a range bag or a backpack that fits the free personal item carry on, and I'll just put like our ears in it or something, just stuff you can carry on the plane with no hassle. I'll put that in there, and then when we get to the hotel or wherever, I'll unpack all our range gear and just put the bare minimum we need in there, and we'll shoot the whole Caribbean Open with just one range bag or one
Yeah,
backpack, both of us. So
and I
it's
mean, you can swap things in and out as you need to, right?
Yeah, it's like, well, lunch break. Let me run to the car and swap these empty ammo cases out for new ones from the trunk.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next one. Manny is asking us how much is the shooting scene changing in Dallas Fort Worth area? And I want to say it's actually changed massively. There's more people accepting of competition shooting, whether they choose some outlaw IDPA, USPSA, PCSL. PCSL hasn't really grabbed except for one range over at Rooftop Shooting Range, which kind of makes sense. They don't have to pay to have a rule set, or they don't have to sneak around to do like some kind of outlaw using the same rules as say USPSA or IDPA. But I mean, it's massively changed. There's more rimfire stuff going on. There's more carbine matches going on. And it's honestly getting to the point where the weekends are oversaturated with pistol matches,
Yeah,
honestly.
I think they have reached a saturation point. That was like the hardest thing, like in deciding to go work for Red Dirt and switch to Nakatoshis, was simply because, like, man, I've always told people this, people I'm training with or students I would get at Gritter, or just acquaintances I'd meet. Like, we are so well blessed in the DFW area, and it's only gotten better and better as far as your options for matches. And I was like, I'm gonna have to make sure that I am internally motivated to keep up with the practice without having so many matches easily accessible.
I mean, I want to say honestly, the one piece of shooting culture that I want to change, because in Fort Worth, I don't think it's as much of an issue because it's held over at Gritter and it's actually restarting over at Defender Outdoors. Um, is indoor hit factor or USPSA matches. They're
Oh
non-existent in Dallas. They don't pretty much only happen in Fort Worth.
yeah,
That is the one piece of thing that I want to change, is just because all these indoor ranges in the Dallas side are more focused on defensive shooting and getting people started. And like I guess they look at IDP as like, oh hey, this is kind of perfect. this has like a somewhat prescribed route and is geared towards defense, and not USPSA where it's like, oh, training scars and this is too freeform. No, you can still work those in if that's the goal that you're working towards.
Oh, 100%. I think you attract a bigger variety of crowd with a hit factor match, and it just naturally pushes people. I've never experienced anyone in all my years of shooting who starts shooting hit factor matches and then doesn't feel the pressure in a good way to increase their skills and to start practicing on a more regular basis. Like it just naturally happens.
Yeah. And I mean, shoot, the top IDPA shooters here in Dallas, they shoot USPSA and they're at the top of the list in IDPA locally here.
Yeah.
At least most of them.
Oh yeah. The skill across the skills are the same. People don't necessarily see it or really believe it, but the skills are the same. Just how you apply them may be different, but the core skills that you need to practice to get good are exactly the same. You might as well just do hit factor and let people have more pressure to improve due to the scoring system and the variety of crowd and skill level attract.
I agree.
Yeah. So
all right,
that's a good one.
Yep. Let's talk about the goofy one that started up this year. L10 optics. What's your take on it?
I understand this correctly. They're allowing frame mounted optics too.
That is correct. Like an open gun. So like take a checkmate, and then let's just say you could slam a 40 barrel in it, and you got major power factor with a frame mounted optic.
Yeah. I don't know.
And by checkmate, I mean like the one with the island barrel, not the comp barrel.
Yeah. You just switch out the comp for the island barrel. I'm disappointed that they allowed the frame mounted optics, because I really wanted to see or people to be required to find out which optics survive major power factor the best.
It's like all those companies that say, like, I remember the marketing for the when the Aimpoint Acro came out, how like it survived 20,000 rounds of 40 on a Glock.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Right.
I mean, it's just it's a real thing. The beating guns take for a major power factor. I put a new barrel in my main limited gun, and it's I guess it's tighter or new rifling or chamber, I don't know, but it upped my power factor out of the same rounds. The barrel shoots faster, and so now all of a sudden my ammo is like 175 to 180 power factor.
I mean, at least that means that you're safe for IPSC.
Right.
Because major is 170 for standard.
Yeah, exactly. I'm way safe for IPSC. I definitely have an IPSC-esque load, maybe even a little hot right now. And I'm just like, I'm chewing through buffers like crazy all of a sudden. It's like the 10 power factor difference all of a sudden is making the gun chew through stuff faster than it was before. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to retune this load later in the year or something after I shoot hot ammo.
That's actually kind of hilarious. I mean, in one way, L10 I honestly think L10 should have been dead from the start, kind of thing, right?
Oh.
Just because the rules already have like whatever's the mag rule in that state, then just stick with that division. Deal with the fact that you don't have a G card and that kind of thing, right? But then I look at L10 optics and I'm like, hang on a second. This is kind of the reemergence of like IPSC modified division, where what it was you could do a comp. You had to be at least 40 or 357 sig for major power factor. You could do a magwell, but everything, including the magazine, had to fit inside the box. So this is kind of this without the comp.
Yeah, it is in a way. It's
probably the most radically different division, though.
It probably is. I guess I like it in the end. Though I don't get to see everyone break their optics or see which optics may survive.
To be fair, though, there is also still a lot of chamber pressure associated with 40, isn't there?
Say it again.
there's still a lot of chamber pressure with 40, isn't there? Like when you're shooting major.
Oh yeah, yeah. 40 is the like if you look at sounding specs of 40, it's one of the like tightest ranges of acceptable chamber pressure of rounds. So most chamber pressures on 40 loads are pretty high. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. I'm with you though. It should have probably just been removed as soon as we had a rule, mags and state laws like that. That one rule like fixes the whole reason L10 exists. So
yeah,
and it would have been probably maybe a little bit more too much of a band-aid being ripped off than people would have liked, but it makes more sense if they would have just consolidated like L10 and Revolver and Classic or something like that, or just did some consolidating there. I don't know what the magic combination is that exists, if it even exists, but probably would have made more sense.
I still find it funny how Casey Reed won L10 nationals with basically a production gun, not shooting 9 minor.
Yeah, it's it's I don't know. it's like Max winning open at one of those Houston matches with the appendix carry open minor.
All right, here's a bit of an opinion question. Let's say you're like a Carry Optics GM.
Yeah.
Do you think you would see a performance increase, like a percentage performance increase with a custom LO 2011?
Only if you step up your training in accordance with what the gun is capable of.
I'd agree.
A nicer gun just means that you have less excuse for not being faster.
Or being more accurate.
Or being more accurate. Yeah. Both together. More accurate at distance is if we wanted to like hone in on it. Like you should be more accurate at distance and you should be doing all the shots faster. And but the caveat to that is there's going to be a lot of the people who have the gun or a gun similar, and they're going to be pushing themselves too. So all you've done is just step into a realm where the bar is raised, and now you have to step up too.
Yeah, so, I agree. I mean, that's literally like going from production to open in a way.
Yeah, and the and it's going to be hard to measure if you have a really nice CO gun, like a super tuned functioning Shadow 2, or you got a really nice PDP with a trigger that's been nice and honed from lots of practice. And it's
shoot, the PDP triggers are already good to go.
Yeah,
like Walther triggers ever since the Q5 came out has always been nice. I mean, actually, ever since the Q1 and Q2 dropped. So and then the Q5 just made it more for competition.
Exactly, and as you shoot them, they just get better. Like all triggers, like you wear them in, and they all get better. So it's going to be hard for you to notice that. And I think the only way you are going to notice it is if you make a concerted effort to up your training and find out where the edges of performance are for, that gun with that 2-pound trigger with, a couple millimeters of throw distance. That's going to be on you. It's going to be on you to find out, can you step up and perform and take advantage of that? And a lot of it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, like I actually experimented this last year. So for the people who don't know, I had a surgery last year, and then in the middle of recovery, I was like, I wonder what would happen if I asked Taco Calvin to borrow one of his 2011s for Double Tap Championship, just to see what would happen. Just because I've been shooting Glock pretty much my entire life, or at least ever since I've been shooting pistol. And let's just see what would happen, right? So he lent me 2 pistols, one of which was a staccato, like his plain Jane staccato P. He swapped out some springs to kind of suit some different ammo, and then he lent me a full-blown custom 20 Infinity, right?
Yeah.
And thankfully, it's one that I've already shot before, and I was like, okay, perfect. I have a factory-esque 2011 and then a custom 2011. I'm used to I'm used to the factory gun side of just shooting stock Glocks. Let's try a full blown custom 2011.
I remember this when it was happening and you talking about it. But were these open guns, limited gun, LO guns?
LO guns.
LO guns. Okay.
Yeah. So none of them comped. It was just, pretty much a factory staccato P, and then back when you could still do a custom order, it was I want to say it was a 4.5-inch slide Infinity that has that cheek buster on it. So it's got that really thick plate with some spikes that you could punch someone with.
Yeah. A crazy look to it.
Yeah. If I remember, Dozzy, as always, won, right? And then if I did, yes, I was just at the tail end of recovery from surgery, and I didn't see a noticeable performance increase from the last match that I shot against him. So largely it's the 6 inches of stuff between your ears, right? You got to use your brain.
Yeah. 100%.
And honestly, I didn't have that much practice time on the gun. So one, you need to dedicate yourself to whatever gun that you're working with, provided that it fits you. It doesn't make sense, I guess, unless you're Tony Wong. It doesn't make sense to go to a Glock 26 and then expect to do well in competition and then immediately make a jump to a Shadow 2 with thin grips. Actually have the gun fit you first.
Yeah.
And then go hammer out doing practices.
Yeah, 100%. The consistency of your handling time on the gun and intentional dry fire and live fire, that's going to mean more than any gun that you could buy. And there's diminishing returns as you do try to quote unquote buy performance. But every time you do buy performance, now it's on you to step up and make it happen. And it's only going to help you in these niche situations. Double tap is a very hosiery match. That's what it's kind of known for. And if you have the skill of Matt Chua, and that skill comes from the consistency of your practice, you're gonna do pretty much the same no matter, as long as it's an okay gun.
Yeah.
Now you shoot 2022 handgun nationals where they're putting poppers at 35 yards and parcels at 25. All of a sudden, if you pushed yourself and you practice with it and you stepped up to the new limitations of the firearm, this 2-pound Infinity trigger suddenly is really nice to have. It can help you out a little bit, but you've got to do your part.
Yeah. One, you got to deep dive into your gun, and then two, you got to have your mind in the right space while you're practicing and also during the match. That's really the main thing that you got to do.
100%.
All right. Do you have any, speaking of, since I've talked about switching between Glock and the 2011, right? Do you have any experience switching between different platforms?
Yeah. Well, I started out, like I said, in IDPA. And even when I jumped to shooting more USPSA, I was shooting the XDM Springfield platforms. I was shooting CDP 45 division in IDPA with a 45 XDM. And I was that was fun. Those were some golden years there for me, because I was dominating all around the Texas and surrounding states CDP division with this plastic fantastic gun, and just destroying people with who usually shoot 1911s. Because you think 45, you think 1911. So that's what everyone usually shot in that division. And I was just showing up with this fantastic plastic XDM.
And it's always an XD, right?
Yeah, I love it. It was great. I tried. The platform treated me really well in that division, but and XDM and 45 is a low pressure round. You can make major power factor for it, and it's a big bullet, big heavy bullet, but it's a low pressure round, so that isn't normally hard on guns. And so when I switched over to USPSA and I started to get serious, I was like, well, I'm already shooting this. I'll just get a 40 XDM and maybe mod it a bunch to make it maybe heavier or whatever. I remember I made lead grips for it, a backstrap to make it to weigh it down. And I did all sorts of crazy stuff. But the problem was, it just beat the gun up too much. Like major 40, just I broke like 3 slides. I broke like 5 rear sides. I just, over the course of like trying to make this gun work for like 3 years.
That's also the life of 40, right?
Yeah, it's like the life of major 40. And plus I'm shooting a gun that I just don't think was made for the round count that I was putting on it. And I just kept breaking stuff. And that's when I finally like tried some people's TSOs and 2011s out, and just trying them out a few different practice sessions with people. I was like, I'm shooting both of these okay. Well, I like them both. But this one's like $2,000 cheaper. So I'm good. So that's how I ended up being a CZ guy. I was like, this shoots just as well. And it's a lot cheaper.
Two nearly for the price of 1.5, right?
Yeah, exactly. So now I have 4 TSOs at this point, 2 set up for minor optic divisions, and my 2 limited guns and 40. And between all 4, I maybe could have bought 1 Infinity at this point.
It's just a matter of time until you come to optics again.
Yeah.
Or officially make your drop into optics.
Yeah. So changing platforms there, I think this is a good throwback, or a good tie back into what we're saying. Is like, I switched platforms. The gun was nicer. The trigger was nicer. It was heavier. It functioned better. So all of a sudden, I realized, like, if I want to continue to climb and keep up with the growing DFW community and maybe reach the goal of being on Super Squad someday, I had to step up. I had to step my practice. I had to stop, hold myself back. Like, there's no excuses anymore. The gun is not an excuse. You have no excuse. People do what you do. People do what you want to do with stock Glocks and stock P10Fs and stock Whoppers. Like, so now you have a nice gun. So now it's time to step up, Johnson. All of a sudden there's no excuse.
That's fair. I mean, I've messed around with switching platforms every now and then. Like on record, I have 1 local match with a Tanfo that I borrowed from Connor. Actually, he just kind of has it in his safe. I've got, I think, 5 total matches with a 2011, and then 2 with a PCC.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, the way I treat it is that they're all different, but they still use similar fundamental skills. You still got to grip it right. You still got to use your eyes to focus on the spot on target that you want. Like, the only real differences was the grip shape and what sight system it was, whether it was a dot or whether it was irons. That's really all it really was. And if you can dedicate time to learning the gun in dry fire and then understanding what the recoil pattern is in live fire, you're pretty set to at least do well. I'm not going to say you're going to immediately win. That's entirely on who is your competition and where your mind is. But otherwise, the same fundamentals still apply across the board. Does it fit? And then do you understand how it feels? That's really it.
After that, it's just, you got to put in the time.
Yep.
You got to put in the time and the analysis. You can't just go through the motions. You got to put in the time and be present while you're doing it.
Yep. And enjoy the process. That's another thing that you have to do as well.
Yeah. I think that's what it comes down to with this whole conversation, is like, get the gun that motivates you to go practice.
Yep.
Like, could I have gotten as good as you with a Glock? Sure, but I just don't enjoy shooting them as much. So I got something I enjoyed, and that ended up being a CZ.
Yeah. Besides, everyone enjoys racing what they enjoy racing.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. This is an interesting question from Andy, just because he really likes to deep dive into the mind a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Theoretical limits and when to break or bend your rules and principles to go faster.
I think for the majority, I have recently really come to, I wasn't always this way, but nowadays I am very much a mindset camp of kind of the Steve Anderson and Joey Sauerland when it comes to performance at major matches. I only can do what I can do, and I only can do that if I believe I can do it, and I trust the process. And I'm never going to really try to break that process when I'm there trying to do the best I can. The time to break the process and experiment with different things is when that result is okay. That it's okay that you're not going to have your best performance possibly, or that that's an acceptable outcome for you. You know, I'm never, I don't think there's any major I would go to because of the time and effort it takes to put into it, where I would probably break some of the principles that I try to live by as far as that stuff. But at a local in practice, yeah, I'm going to be, you know, that's something that I didn't do for a long time. And that's a reason why, you know, I'm not as good as I should have been 5 years ago. Is I wasn't breaking principles. I wasn't experimenting. I wasn't failure in practice as actually a measurement of success. Like failure in practice was failure, but that's not the way it should be. If you're really pushing yourself, it should be failure in practice is acceptable and actually a measure of success.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So at major matches, I agree with you. Steve Anderson, Joey Sauerland, do what you can do. You don't need to push into who you are not. What I typically do is that I will select a match, and that will act as an experiment. It's like, hey, whatever the result that may be, it's going to be push, that kind of thing. I think Steve calls it speed mode, and Travis Tomasi calls it velocitization.
Yeah. Speed mode's a descriptor, I think, that most people can understand.
Yeah, it's like you are purposely going fast, but okay, as me, Connor, Coy have explained before, you need to understand what is going on in those moments that you didn't nail that alpha, like what led into you pushing down that Charlie, what caused you to look away, or no, what caused you a delta, Mike, or that no shoot. I looked away from that, right? It's that active analysis of what's going on. Okay, and like you cannot have it be like that negative thinking, right? How do you turn it positive? It's like this next stage, I will do this, right?
Yeah.
Create that self-fulfilling promise of, okay, this is what I will do. That way, it's not I think I will improve, because thinking doesn't really get you anywhere. It's I will.
Yeah. It's one of the times I phrase it to people is like, are you the best weekend only shooter here today? No, but you are getting better. Like, there's no if, ands, or think. Like, no, you are getting better. And right now, the act of you trying to do this makes you better.
Yeah.
So yeah. Shoot, there's a tangent there. Something to add. I forgot what.
Dude, complete free thought. Let it go. Come on, like if you can bring it, go ahead and say it.
Yeah, I was saying like what you just described is what I was encompassing when I said you got to do the time and the reps, but not just go through the motions. You got to be present for it. You got to understand, like, you got to be having your for a grade school language, you got to have your thinking cap on when you're doing your practice or when you are shooting. You can't just go down the target and be like, oh, there's a delta. It's like, well, why is there a delta? What happened? What did you feel? What was the tension in your hand feeling like? Like, is there anything you can point to that may have caused that delta? Can you reproduce it now? Okay, you're reproducing it. Okay, how would you fix it? Is you feeling the tension in your hand? How are you going to get that tension in your hand? You got to be thinking about it as you're doing it, not just like, I did 100 draws today. Yay.
Yeah. Now, like, I guess another question, and this is gonna sound, maybe this might sound a little JJ-ish. Do you have a time frame that you set to go ahead and go through that experiment period? And when do you just focus on your consistency? Like let's just say race gun nats, right? It's at the end of October.
Yeah.
Do you set a time frame?
I these past 2 years, which I mean I guess makes sense, these are the past two best performances I've ever had at limited nationals, is yeah, as nats get close, I up my live fire, and the live fire becomes an exercise in pure confidence building, of just putting ammo down range in a very consistent manner. And usually, or at least this was my experience the last 2 years, my times on drills and my skills do go up, but I think it comes from a the intensity, the regularity of the practice of, every day, every week, my body's like, oh yeah. I mean, I've been holding the gun and pulling this trigger, and this is how you do it. And there's not a chance for me to forget any sort of muscle memory or anything going on, because I'm just doing it every single week as much as I can. Whether that be 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. There was times, especially when I was at Gritter, like coming up for this last nats, where I was on the range 5 days a week after work. I was just out there, even if it was just 100 rounds. I was just making it a not marathons of practice, but frequency of practice.
Frequency and bite-sized portions, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so that yeah, coming up, it was definitely a raise the volume of live fire and a focus on consistency, a focus on even my fast stuff no longer felt fast because I was just used to it, And so, but yeah, right now, like I get close to I'm a few days out or a week out from a major, I'll do a little bit of that. But the rest of the time, the first part of the week or the rest of the weeks where there's nothing going on or just locals going on, it's all like faster eyes, push, 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 speed mode, speed mode, speed mode. Okay, let's see how it's feeling in live fire. Okay, go back, more speed mode, more speed mode. Just trying to make myself as uncomfortable as possible so that when I dial it back just a tad, all of a sudden it feels easy.
Yep. That's literally what I want to say. That's just about what every high level shooter does.
Yeah. And it's why I wasn't at this level 5 years ago, because I wasn't doing that. I don't know why I didn't click or didn't understand it, or maybe the culture wasn't there to put it in me. But and that's one thing I'm really grateful for the DFW area and the community is you can't ignore that. If you're showing up to the matches going on in the area and you're seeing who's showing up and what skill they're putting out, like you can't.
Everyone is pushing.
Yeah, everyone is pushing. You have to be pushing too. You just need to go out there and fall on your face. Not literally, hopefully, but just fall on your face as far as like your hits going, and whatever speed they're going, you do that speed.
Oh,
just do it.
Try it. Definitely try it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh wait, that guy did it in 12 seconds. I'm going to do it in 11.
Yeah, exactly. And it might suck, but now when you dial it back to 12 or 13, all of a sudden it's going to seem easy, And so you just take away those experiences and you replicate them in your practice, whether that be dry or live.
Yep. All right, we're getting close to an hour, so we will go with one final question. Who are your favorite shooters and why?
It used to be, Ben Stoker is still probably one of my favorite shooters and personalities. Obviously, you never like everything about someone, but I don't know. He's a foundational, for me. I took a private lesson with him, took a class with him. He's the first one who really, I took other lessons before him, but he's the first person who opened my eyes to like, you have to push, you have to try. Here are the ways it's not hard. Or, I mean, it's not complicated, but it's hard. He's like, you just have to pull the trigger and not move the gun. And you have to do these reps to get it done. And so he's the first instructor that I felt like that was 100% my money's worth. I would have paid more for those lessons, like that. So he's always been a favorite to me just because I feel like as far as training wise goes, he's had an enormous positive influence on the community. And so I was definitely, as far as right now, I probably already hinted at it earlier, but I love the way Joey Sauerland looks at shooting and the mindset aspect of it, and the simplicity of it. Sometimes you hear top level shooters talk about, oh well, I really thought about this math here and how I was going to push on this target and da 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 da. And Joey's just like, just do the best you can all the time. It was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was like, it's like, okay, like that makes sense. And so just the way he looks at it and his mindset about it really resonates with me a lot. Because there was a while there where I was getting really bogged down in like, when do I push? When do I not push? And it's so much simpler just to be like, build confidence, have the right mindset, do the best you can all the time.
He's also got that big woo personality, right? It's like, woo, what a great run.
Yeah,
that kind of thing, right?
I love the energy.
Dude, he's so much fun. I've shot with him. I think I've shot with him twice. I know for a fact once, but I mean, dude, that guy is so high energy all the time.
Yes, I last year on the Super Squad, I had a run where it was at I don't know, you maybe saw videos or whatever, or people watching the stage where you step in the shooting area and there's 2 low windows, but there's some targets off to the left. So a lot of people stepped in, shot the targets on the left, and they crouched down and get into the 2 windows. Yeah. As I transitioned between the targets on the left, I just continuously got lower and lower as I shot them. So by the time I was done with that array, I was in position for the low windows. I fell out of position later in the stage, and overall the stage time was behind pace. But the fact that I tried those things, Joey was like, dude, you belong in the Super Squad. Like, you're trying shit and you're putting forth 100% effort. Like, that's awesome. Oh, yeah. And he knew that I was behind pace, that the score necessarily wasn't great on paper, but the process that I was trying to put forward, like, he was all about that energy. And I thought, great.
He's a lot of fun to be around. My favorite shooters, I guess. I honestly want to say JJ and Eric, because they bring a lot of high energy, but they're also slightly different, right? Like JJ is super friendly, super high energy. Yeah. Like he looks like, I don't know. He's marching around with like that ideal friendly guy energy, and also being super good at what he does. And then you look at Eric and it's like, that guy is a robot. He is a supercomputer, and he just does exactly what his brain calculated him to do. Yeah. Like when I watched that in France, I was like, damn, that is awesome.
Yeah, I wish I've never seen him shoot in person. I think probably if I had gotten shooting experiences with him or taken classes with him, I probably would have maybe said Eric as my answer too. But I just haven't had those experiences with him. But just, yeah, he definitely influenced me early when shooting. I was like, oh, I want to be a robot. Like, I want to be like that. That's awesome.
Yep. Like, I haven't gotten around to the whole hit vector math thing yet. So it's more of like, just do what you can, do what you've practiced.
Yeah.
So I'm still very much in that camp. I can't calculate my way through a stage just yet. Now, like, obviously the people we've said, they're absolutely great, but that's not to say that other people aren't someone, like, that shouldn't be someone else's favorite shooter. Like Tim Heron, I took his class, and he's great personality. He's the first practical shooting instructor that I took a class from, and he likes to guide your way through his process, that kind of thing. And like the way that I watched him teach different shooters of different skill levels made me think, it was like, if I end up mentoring other people, that's kind of what, like, the way I want to be. I want to mentor someone through something, not simply just teach them. It's like, hey, your ass is out on the wind. Good luck, right? Here's a $20 bill on your collar. Good luck in the airport.
Yeah. Yeah, I've taken classes with Elias Frangoulis. I don't know if he's still around teaching. Steve Anderson, and Mason Lane, Ben Stoker, and JJ. And I would fully endorse you to take class with any of those people. Like, great stuff.
Are you taking classes from anyone this year, or are you hoping to take a class somewhere in the near future?
No. Right now, right now in my experiences and training, I'm at a point where like I know what I need to do. Now it's time to either nut up or shut up. Put in the time or don't. I know where I'm at. I know where I stand. I know what's underneath me, and now it's time to either put the time in to make things happen, or decide that I'm not going to do that. So it's kind of a commitment. That's all it is right now for me. I feel like I'm in a good place as far as what I need to practice and knowing, and my knowledge. It's just actually doing it, as it is for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If I do get to a point where I feel like I'm ready for coaching, I think I wouldn't mind a class with Joey, and I'm a that I missed out on the Professor Kim Hwanzik class that just happened there in DFW. So
Yeah.
I think both of those would be pretty instructional for me, even at my level. But it's just you're always learning, and I love Hwanzik's focus on fundamentals. I think I'm very much of the mindset like everything's fundamentals. Shooting the move, fundamentals.
Yeah.
So.
And if you're not seeing what you need to see, why did you pull the trigger, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you didn't see what you need to see. Well, what are you doing to make your eyes work faster for you?
Oh, yeah.
Like, fundamentals.
Yep. I will be taking a class just because I'm kind of wanting to see if there's maybe a plateau that I have yet to break out of lately. I will be taking a class in June over at Mission 160, which is my home range, with Fabio Spinella, who runs my own Defender, and is a combo class together with Brantley Merriam, who is now starting up teaching this year.
That's very cool. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah,
so
I'm very interested to hear your feedback and experiences there. That'll be very cool.
Yeah, we'll probably end up doing a podcast about that. Maybe I'll invite Fabio as a guest. But I mean, like Fabio's had years and years in teaching, especially with musical instruments. Yeah. And then Brantley is a super squatter in both carry optics and limited optics. So that'll be a very fun experience that I'm hoping for.
And shooting a very minimally modified Glock while doing it.
I know, right? pretty much what Brantley does.
I know, I love it. Definitely. For me, if I had more resources, I'd probably be taking more classes this year. But that decision kind of is based on the resources available to me, the time available, the money available to me at the moment. So, so right now, focusing on my own development, and then if time and resources free up, I'll definitely be right there with you, taking more classes all the time. Always going to be learning. Yep,
I agree. All right, so people finding you. What major matches are you going to, and how can people find you on the internet?
Instagram, pretty much where I respond to most DMs and talk to people as far as shooting stuff is concerned. No _Cape_needed_training.
That's a very lovely photo of a dog.
Yeah, that's Simran. It's a great. She's a great motivation as far as cuddles go.
Hold up a second. Cimarron, right?
Cimarron, like Cimarron bullets, or Cimarron the color, or Cimarron the down.
Okay, I was honestly thinking it was Cimarron, New Mexico. That's where I was thinking the name came from, because of Philmont for scouting. That's where I was thinking.
Kind of. That's the initial. Inspiration.
Okay.
But people get firearm references usually better. So, but yeah, it's just a Western name, and that's her name.
All right.
Yeah, but you can find me there. And you see the little doggy picture. That's me. And then as far as majors going, I am big ones. I'm going to IPSC US NATS this year to get that experience under my belt. Going to shoot standard and shooting limited NATS for sure. We got the one in Lake Forest now. you got like a couple Lone Star ones. They have both called Lone Star.
They got so Lake Forest has Radical Revolution, which is LO versus CO, and then there's Lone Star State, which is an actual state championship. So people might actually be getting awarded NAT slots for that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm going to that one. I'm going to the one we got at ETTS now.
North Texas Open.
North Texas Open, and then I'm going to the Texas Open, the other one that's similar.
Texas State over at Wallace Orchard.
Yeah, going to that one, and
that's the weekend right after Easter.
I know it's so bad. So yeah, got all this going on, and then believe it or not, I picking up in a couple of weeks from my gunsmith in DFW a TSO 9mm that's made weight and ported for IDPA carry optics.
How much did he have to shave from that?
Several ounces. And we had to file the beaver tail down to fit in the box.
Right. All right. So you got Texas State, you've got North Texas Open, IPSC Nats, Limited Nats. Do you have Area 4 on your roadmap since that's coming back to Mission 160 again?
Yeah, we're Area 4, and we have I'm going to shoot the Gator Classic over in Louisiana at the end of the year. And then besides that, I think the rest are a handful of IDPA matches that I'm going to dabble in with the carry optics gun that's ported. That's a thing in IDPA, apparently. So, yeah.
That'll be interesting. All right. Majors I've currently got on my list. We got Radical Revolution, which is it's really like a level 1.5, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least it sets the tone for when they do Lone Star State, which I'll also be doing. Which if you're a concealed guy, it's sponsored by Hunter Constantine doing the belt stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see what else here. I got Dragon's Cup on the menu.
Oh, I'm doing that too. I'm shoot LO.
Oh, right, because it's dots only this year.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got. Double Tap Championship.
I'm skipping that.
Yeah, I can understand that one. Which if you're wondering about majors, it also coincides with Mississippi Classic.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I am considering North Texas Open. It kind of depends on how things lie. Just because the weekends in June would end up being Lone Star, and then the class with Fabio and Brantley, and then the weekend after is North Texas Open. I'm ignoring IPSC Nats this year, and then I've got Space City, Area 4, and then if I can get a North Texas section slot, then I'll go to Race Gun Nats for LO with a stock lock.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. That'd be awesome.
You'll
parts.
That's the goal, right? And it'll be the first time at SUP since I want to say 2019 Open, Limited, Carry Optics, and PC Nationals.
Yeah.
It's been that long since it's been in Utah.
Yeah, it has been. And it's a beautiful range. And so
I bet.
Yeah. Last time I shot out there, it's the Nationals I shot out there is my top match as far as comfortability with the weather and the range itself. I think I shot that whole 3-day or 4-day Nats. It was a big one. Was
that Iron Sight Nats?
Yeah, it was Race Gun Nats or maybe it was Iron Sight. I think it was 9 days of Nationals. Is that when they did it?
No, because 9 days of Nationals was at Universal in Florida in 2018.
Okay, so yeah, I guess it was a different one then. But yeah, long story short, I didn't have a drop of sweat happen the whole match. Like the weather was just that perfect, and that
must have been the high altitude.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was the most beautiful match as far as weather I've ever shot in my life.
I'm also considering LA Gator just because it's like an end of the year match and it'll be like a bit of a vacation match. It's like, hey, let's just have some fun.
Yeah. A lot of my choices this year was like what's easy to get to, and what maybe I don't need to get a hotel for. I'm going to do a little early morning driving this year just to cut down on hotel costs. Gator's 2 hours from me. I shoot there local.
Oh yeah, that's right. Now that you're closer there.
Now that I'm close to that direction, yeah, it's 2 hours from me. I just wake up early and I drive down there and shoot there local. I'll probably do the same thing for Gator.
I'd love to go, but that's a 3-hour drive for me.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so come to the end of the episode. If you got any questions, go ahead and hit us up. We got the comment box down below for YouTube. We got the Instagram channel, Raw Time Champ, or you can hit up me, the Chewy Cookie. You can hit up Connor. You can hit up Coy. Maybe don't hit up Calvin since he's got Firepower United and he's probably got a lot of annoying TMs that he doesn't want to deal with. So please feel free to hit us up. Johnathan, we'd love to have you as a guest, and thank you very much for stopping by.
Yeah, you're welcome. You guys stay safe out there. Get the training.
All right.